What's up, Trojans? It's absolutely wild that we go from last week, an 0-3 team, to beating the 3-0 LA Chargers. Like, what a turnaround for this team. Absolutely amazing, and it's all thanks to Jaxson Dart, really, at the end of the day. Really provided the fire that this team needed to get that lead early and ultimately just hang on to it for the rest of the game. That's also been how the game played out. You know, the offense could have run a little bit better. Jaxson Dart definitely made some rookie quarterback moves at times. But, hey, you can't hit a guy that wins you games. What a game by Jaxson Dart, right? What a move to put him in. I mean, you come from last week, right? And I didn't make a video last week because I couldn't say anything that added anything. It really felt like a game that was just like week one all over again. You know, some of the guys went off, but the only two things that were different from the first game to the third game of the season last week was Russ ultimately seemed like the problem last game, and the play calling was so far off. It wasn't like there was okay play calling and the offensive line didn't hold up. It felt like the offensive line really held up and exposed how bad that play calling was, especially with how bad Russ was at times. And, you know, it was one of those things where it's like, wow, we actually got the run game going. The defense wasn't complete garbage. And it feels like a game the Giants ultimately should have won. This week, wow, this feels like a game we should have lost by 10 and we won it. And the weirdest thing, I couldn't stop thinking this while watching the game. It felt like we were down 10 the entire game, even though we were up 10 most of the game. It was the weirdest feeling I just couldn't shake, and yet we ultimately won. And it felt like it came out of nowhere. It felt like a last-second win when the defense got that last stop. It just felt like, wow, this is a shocking win that came out of nowhere, even though we were ahead the entire game. Like, if you were watching this game and you were like, oh, these are two good NFL teams going at it, like, wow, one team's been winning the entire game and one team is losing the entire game, you would think the team winning the entire game would ultimately win. But it didn't feel that way to me as a Giants fan in my heart. Like, I've been watching this team the last few weeks and the past several years. I'm like, no, we're going to lose. And we won. It felt like it came out of nowhere, but we won. Guys, we won a game. We're not 0-4. We're 1-3. It still doesn't sound amazing, but we won. We beat the 3-0 Chargers. It feels like this shocking win that came out of nowhere at the last second. You know, some game-winning deep pass to Neighbors, but that just wasn't the case. Unfortunately, and this was the worst part about this game, Malik Neighbors got injured. It doesn't look good. I've heard several reports saying that it's an ACL injury, and that is really, really bad for this team. Malik Neighbors is obviously our number one wide receiver. He's an amazing wide receiver. And even that catch, if you go to look at it again, I think that's one of those catches he makes if he doesn't injure himself on that play. He is a very good wide receiver. I think he went to take an angle that normally works for him, and his ankle just buckled, or whatever injury happened. It happened right there, and that cost him that play and maybe the season, unfortunately. Feels so bad to say. I was not happy seeing that. Injuries are one of those things that really angers me the most when I'm watching these games, because it feels like something that the team couldn't even correct for. And honestly, that's why we need, like, grass. We just need grass. Every Giants fan has been saying this for the past 5 years at least. We need grass. Why do we have this turf? Every single NFL team that even comes to MetLife is like, yeah, why are injuries higher when we go to MetLife? What is wrong with this stadium? Like, put grass in. Do whatever any other NFL team does. These other NFL teams don't have these injuries. I'm watching, I'm recording this a little bit later. I had some other stuff to do. So I'm watching the Packers-Dallas game right now. I don't recall either of these teams having these types of injuries unless something crazy happens. You know, they're freak injuries. But with the Giants, it doesn't feel like they're freak injuries. They feel like an every other season type thing. And I don't know what's going on here. Like, why is that the case for the Giants? The only explanation, in my opinion, we're using turf and not grass. And it feels like every few years we're like, oh, we'll put we got a new turf company. We're putting new turf in. Well, your turf still sucks. It's not helping these players. We're still not getting the good results. I don't know if MetLife was built on an ancient burial ground or what's going on there, but if that's the case, we got to move. If it's the grass or the turf, then that's got to change. Figure it out. We can't keep having these injuries. And this was a non-contact injury from a healthy player that didn't have anything going on. Even the Daniel Jones injury in 2023, that was one of those injuries that he was favoring his leg the play before. He took a couple snaps on the sideline. They're like, well, I guess I'm fine to go. And well, then he buckled for a sack on the next play, and it cost us. That was obviously coming. So this was not that. This was Malik Neighbors, as healthy as ever, going up to make one of the catches he normally tries to make. And honestly, it was a decent ball by Jaxson Dart. I think he could have made that catch. And it's a shame that he wasn't able to and got injured. It really hurt the Giants. And I genuinely felt the momentum leave this team when that happened. Many people will say, Dexter Lawrence making that amazing interception, and not quite getting it into the end zone, and the Giants being forced to kick that field goal. That's what did it. No, it was the Malik Neighbors play. Now, thankfully, the Giants did come up with something on that drive. And so going back to the offense, that's something we saw all game. The first drive, Jaxson Dart was amazing. The offense clicked, touchdown right away. And it felt like for the entire rest of the game, we were going field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. We got into the red zone so many times, and we just couldn't get it in. And it feels weird that we weren't able to just get a couple yards. This should be easy. Run Scatterbo up the middle. Scatterbo was amazing, by the way. Props to Scatterbo. He was a legend. He can truck guys. He can break tackles. There's definitely a few runs that I think he would have back. There was the one second or third down play where he ran out to the outside. If he breaks the tackle, we have a touchdown. I think he'd like to have that one back. He should have broken that. But he was amazing this game. Darius Slayton, honestly, is another guy that really stepped up in the absence of Malik Neighbors. And, you actually have these guys that really stepped up. Jaxson Dart. Props to Jaxson Dart. I put him in the thumbnail for the reason. He was great today. It's the offense. I think it's the play calling. Just needs some better play calling. But, unfortunately, the weird thing is, I don't want to do to Jaxson Dart what we did to Daniel Jones. This is looking very much too similar to that scenario where Daniel Jones came in for an 0-2 Giants after Eli Manning, Hall of Fame quarterback, coming in 0-2 Giants, Russell Wilson, Hall of Fame quarterback, that neither of those guys looked bad or horrible the first two games. Now, you could say Russ looked bad week one, but really the offensive line collapsed. Eli Manning looked fine. Both those games in 2019, the first two games he played in 2019. He looked fine in the second two games he played in 2019 as well. Eli Manning's amazing. He never really faltered as a player, in my opinion. But Russ wasn't complete garbage or anything in those first two games. But there's a slightly different scenario here, which I will say, is Russ was ass last week. Russ played horrible. I think even he would say, there's several plays he wish he had back. He was not good last week. He missed throws, and ultimately, it's fair to blame the game on him last week. So we go into this week, and it was interesting going into this week because I didn't think they would try to do Jaxson Dart this week because of the schedule ahead. And they opted to go for Jaxson Dart, and I really feel like it reset this team back to 0-0. And in doing that, we got the win out of it, which is huge. It's huge that we got this win. We're fired up going to next week. I think we beat the Saints next week. We can be 2-3, and we can recover this season next week. That would be huge. But the same thing kind of happened with Daniel Jones in 2019, and that didn't save the season. That didn't save Pat Shurmur's career as a Giants head coach, and it didn't save Gettleman's career either. And we kind of have to stop and think about that because Daniel Jones was really good in that game against the Bucs the first time he came in. And he was pretty good all of 2019. And that's what gives me pause on firing Dable, even though I don't think he's the coach he was in 2022. I think he's definitely worse. But do we want to do that to another quarterback? That's the only thing holding me back. Pat Shurmur, I don't think was a horrible game planner. I think he called decent plays, and I think he was really able to put guys in a position to succeed. I don't think he had the talent, and I think his main fault was just his usage of timeouts and maybe like a general game plan. Like I remember there were a good couple games, the Jets and Eagles ones in particular in 2019 come to mind, where it feels like they should have just won those games, but they didn't. And that was huge, not winning those games. That was a real detriment to the team not winning those games. And I hope that's not the case this season, because that would guaranteed get Dable fired. But Dable winning this game keeps himself safe. I think you can't fire a head coach after a win. And then you go into next week, as I said, I think we can be 2-3. And I don't think he'll get fired. I think he'll keep his job safe. And that's probably better, because you don't want to fire a head coach that's doing good things with a quarterback. I don't think that's good. I think that really hurt Daniel Jones. I hope we don't do it again. And I would just like it if Brian Dable became a better head coach and Jaxson Dart became our Hall of Fame franchise quarterback. That would be the best case scenario for the Giants. So, I hope that's the case. I hope we keep this momentum moving going forward. Team played great today. It resulted in a win. The defense had its ups and downs. Tackling still seems to be an issue. Tackling angles still seem to be an issue. But we had great pressure, and the secondary was not bad at all. There were a good few interceptions, 2 that actually came through, and I think there would have been a couple other had there been not those penalties. Penalties, something this team always has to consider and work on. But Gillen was a great punter today. And our kicker, Younghoe Koo, he came in. He made his kicks, so that's good. And the offense, Jaxson Dart really ignited something there. But the main thing is no Malik Neighbors. We'll have to see how that affects the team going forward, how teams game plan for that. When it's a mid-game injury, it can be very difficult to game plan for still as a head coach. But now there's going to be a full week, and the second half film for the Giants, going into next week that teams can look at to analyze how this offense operated without Malik Neighbors, how different it operated. And honestly, I think there's some trends they'll pick up on. You look at the run game, the Giants ran way more after we lost Malik Neighbors. Way more. Scadaboo was a great running back, as I said, but Singletary stepped up too. Singletary was amazing. So, we had these guys that came in and really elevated their performance to help this team win, but it feels like one of those things that teams could game plan for. So I think the Saints are still a very beatable team. I think we can be 2-3, but up next we have a tough schedule. I mean, the Eagles near back-to-back after that, so not going to be easy. This team's really going to have to get together, but Jaxson Dart coming in, getting his first NFL career start and his first career win, his first touchdown, running and passing. What a guy. Jaxson Dart, you're amazing. Keep it up. See you guys in the next one.